Hey everyone, it's Novo again, hosting Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide rando race between Saberwolf and Knuckly Kong. And joining us on the couch is Jack Jackamus and Turdsman. Runners, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Saberwolf. Me and Knuckly Kong got together for this special event for this Gamers Against Suicide. Mostly for me specifically. I'm gonna derail our time zone a little bit here though. But I actually faced this personally myself back in March of this year. I was in a very, very dark place in my life, dealing with a lot of issues. And at the end of March, I finally broke down and I went to my doctor's office and got the help I needed. And after about 3 months of therapy and doing stuff like that, I am still here with us today. So just remind everybody you're not alone. So this run is to help benefit, get the words and ideas out there for everybody on this great cause. You're not alone, and yeah, enjoy the run. So yeah.
I couldn't have said it better. Um, Suicide is something that affects more people than we know. And to touch on what Saberwolf just said, I am happy that you are still here with us. I wouldn't want to run this against anyone else, and I wish you the best of luck. And you're probably going to win this one, but I'm giving my best shot.
But yeah, put this run. I mean, before coach guys get in there, this run, we specifically picked this run. It is going to be a solo Celeste run for you all. Now, interesting thing about if you don't know Final Fantasy VI, this is a randomizer of Final Fantasy VI. The World's Collide is what we call it. But Celeste in this game, Final Fantasy VI, halfway through the game, spoilers if you never played it, she actually faces a choice of trying to commit suicide in the game. So this is a head nod to a specific character touching on this subject. We're not going to actually show that scene in this run. But this character actually faced that mortality decision whether or not to do this or not. Ultimately, in game, it does fail, or the game wouldn't play anymore, obviously. But it's a bit of a head nod of using this character that faced this exact same choice, and we're gonna do a run thanks to her and thanks for this good cause.
Awesome. Would you like to explain how the run is going to work, by the way? Because you all will not be talking, from what I heard.
Sure. You want to jump in, Knuckly?
Sure. So this is a heads-up race between me and Saberwolf. The unlock requirements for the final fight is 6 characters, 9 espers. And with the solo character, we do still find the other characters. We just cannot add them to our party. That being said, there are a few checks in the game where multiple parties are required. So the characters that we find will be able to use those for the checks where we have to divide the party, but only to make it through the check and not do any of the fights or anything important other than just go and step on a switch. The final part of the game is Kefka's Tower, which normally you are able to split your party up into 3 different parties and fight the triad of statues, which is Doom, Goddess, and Poltergeist. But unfortunately, with a solo character run, we have to run that tower a minimum of 2 times. I say a minimum because there is a possibility of getting a tower skip, which would involve finding 9 characters, 12 espers, or 22 checks. And in this particular flag set, 2 of those requirements have to be met. So if we do get skipped, then we only have to run it twice. If we don't get skipped, then we have to climb the tower a total of 3 times before we can face off against Kefka.
Yep.
Awesome.
Sorry.
And you're good. Our runners will be unable to hear each other for this, so that no one gets an advantage. They also won't be able to hear the couch members, who will instead be commentating. Would you like to say hi, couch members?
Hey
Hi.
everyone, it's your old pal Jackamus Wedge here. You'll be listening to myself and fellow co-commentator Turdsman. How you doing today, Turdy?
I'm doing great. That's a nickname. Uh, really excited to be commentating for these two. They're both really strong runners. I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to deal with the single character challenge. So I think something that I forget if Saberwolf mentioned it or not. It is a solo Celeste run, so they will be finding other characters, but they won't be putting them in their party. So it's just going to be one character for the entire thing. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to take that long either. Like 2 hours, I think, is a pretty fair estimate for it.
Yeah, my practice run took an hour and 35 minutes last night. So yeah.
So mostly because she is going to start with Shock, which is a very strong ability. Really helps carry you through, at the very least, the early and mid game. Probably going to need something else to do at the end of it, but yeah, that's a cool move. All right, I think we'll go ahead and get this thing started here soon.
All right.
Yes, let's.
Well, deafen, guys. See you on the other side.
All righty. Start the race here in the room.
Perhaps not the greatest choice of words, but yes, we'll see you after the race.
And before we start, I do want to say, you guys can go ahead and get yourself ready and everything, but I do want to thank Nobody War, who donated $100. No comment.
Ooh, thank you, Nobody War.
Nobody War's another member of the Final Fantasy VI World Collide community. Great player. We appreciate all the help you're offering to those who are suffering in silence. Keep that stuff coming.
All right, and they're off. So yeah, the other interesting thing is you have to have the Moogle Charm equipped to avoid random encounters in this game. So those are kind of strategically decided when they want to do them, which means that you're going to have a relic slot used up. You can only have one other accessory in there at all for the whole run. Well, not the whole run,
Well, not exactly. One can strategically remove the Moogle Charm for boss encounters, and then you can use two.
That's true. I mean, it is probably worth the menu time. So here we've got Knuckly Kong going through Narsh. Pretty simple start. They are going through that little shack there, and they're going to pick up all the items in there, check a couple shops. It's a pretty popular thing to start with because it's just right there. Like you can hit the B button immediately when the game starts and land right in front of it.
Yeah, it's completely understandable. It's a great way to try to get some early items to help you through your first few combats. Saw a couple interesting weapons in the shop, but for now, not really drowning in money are our racers, so probably just taking a note of where the good stuff is. We did see some earrings for sale, excellent accessory. Thunderblade, good little solid mid-game-ish tier weapon. Sniper in the shop there for Saberwolf. And you can see Saber's taking notes on the side as he's looking to the side there. He'll be back for that sniper, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Or be back to buy a stack of those pearl rods. A very handy item to have for early game.
Yeah, rod breaking, definitely a powerful solution to some of your early battles. Doesn't scale particularly well into later levels, but early on in the run, oh yeah, very powerful, very useful.
If you don't have a whole lot of scaling, you can sometimes use it to just delete a boss that you want to run into, but that has to be a specific one that's weak to it.
Yes, and in these particular settings, the players are already handicapping themselves by only running a single character, whereas this game is usually balanced around a team of 4. So we're going with some easier flags here. But that's kind of balanced out by it being a solo character challenge, so Difficulty-wise, it's probably about what you'd expect from your average Worlds Collide race.
Yeah, I'd say so. Like, having shock at the beginning is, it's a strong multi-target magic attack. I forget if I don't think it pierces magic defense. I forget, but still pretty good
Well,
thing to
we've got
have.
our first interesting sell purchase decision. Kong just sold a ribbon there. Normally, I think that's a great play in Worlds Collide. Sell the ribbon, gets worth a ton of money. You can buy what you like. With a solo character, though, there's probably going to be a few situations where that status defense is really going to matter. That's a relic that in a solo game I would hold on to in case I run into a boss that has a lot of, say, zombie attacks or stoning attacks or the like.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I might not have thought of that in the moment. Because, like you said, you typically have a party of 4, so if somebody gets bopped with a nasty status ailment, usually somebody else is there to take care of it.
Another relic that gets overlooked in normal play because, well, when you have 4 characters, it's not very effective, but a little relic called the Black Belt. Your character will retaliate with physical attack to any physical attack. You only have one character, and they're going to be taking every single physical strike the whole way. That Black Belt, suddenly a very good accessory. We'll see if either of the runners choose to employ one.
That's another good point. I haven't thought as hard about the solo character run, how that changes the just validity of some items that are neat, but you don't necessarily find much use for them in regular play. Again, the black belt.
And
Now I'm
that's
trying to
totally
think of some
fine.
other ones.
So a solo character challenge is something that you typically won't see like ever in a speedrun setting.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
we're seeing a little bit different kind of gameplay here than we normally would. For example, we saw Saberwolf start by going to the town of Albrecht. For those not familiar with the randomizer, there's never anything progress related there. But with a solo character, maybe we'll see a little bit more looting between the two racers before they feel confident enough to engage any of the monsters roaming the landscape. Just to make sure they're extra prepared offensively and defensively.
Yeah, that's true. They're probably going to, and they're going to be looking for specific items too. You can't necessarily be happy with anything you find. Sometimes if you're really hurting and you find some fixed dice, you're like, okay, well, this is going to get something done. But you only have the one character, and Celeste can't naturally equip it, so you don't necessarily have a good chance of being able to use it. So some of the big end game swords are definitely going to be sought out. Minervas are going to be very valuable.
Speaking of valuable, Knuckly just found their experience egg, so you can see
Ooh.
Knuckly Kong basically selling the farm in inventory there, going to pick up that experience egg. Doubles the experience points the character receives, you level up quicker. Early on in the seed, you really can't beat having one of those, so that's a pretty significant advantage for Nux early on here.
Yeah, that could potentially keep him 5 to 10 minutes ahead for a good portion of this run. The levels in this game are wildly important. They are factored very heavily in all of the fun little math that goes on behind the scenes. And Experience Egg is one of the best, honestly, one of the best offense relics you can find, which is kind of strange to think for a level up item.
I want to cut in here. We have another $100 donation. This one from Mixed Tries. As this is a topic that hits close to home, I was so happy to help. Shout out to 10IQ, my Pookie, for setting this up and making me aware of this. Heart.
Thank you very much for the support. We all appreciate that here. And keep those coming there. We want to raise as much as we can, help absolutely everyone continue their livelihood.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So back to the race here now. We've still got a little bit of looting, shopping, hunting for great items going on here. Offense, at least early on, isn't going to be too much of a issue because we do start it with the powerful General Leo's shock command on Sellies. No runic. With the way that they have it set up here. So they've got lots of crowd control to beat a few random encounters early on. Shock less good in boss encounters, but can still carry the day at least early on.
And considering that too, the Coliseum might be a decent play if they can't quite find that end game item that they're looking for, because they know, they only have the one character. They know exactly what she's going to do. She's going to attack or use shock every single turn.
Yeah, Coliseum is definitely something that you can take advantage of. It just all comes down to luck of the draw. Is there going to be anything interesting there in this seed or not? Perhaps we'll find out. Or perhaps one of those Minervas will just drop out of the sky somewhere and there really won't be a need to go to Coliseum.
I know that Saberwolf at least has found a pretty decent set of equipment early on. The enhancer is great for the increased magic power it gives. Flame Shield is good in 90% of situations, but there's a lot of fire damage being thrown around in this game. Unfortunately, it makes you weak to water, so that can be a bit dicey, but that doesn't come up too often.
Water damage is fairly uncommon in this game, both used by the enemies and in terms of enemy weakness. Fire magic is everywhere in this game. Fire is by far the best element.
Yeah, I think I can agree with that.
Well,
All right.
Nux is going to go have a peek and see if there's any good loot in IKEA. And Saberwolf, we are off for a little bit of performance art here. So everyone, I think we have Saber's game audio on here. So myself and my co-commentator, we're just going to let this play out. Enjoy some wonderful music composed by Nobuo Uematsu, and we'll be right back with you in 3 or 4 minutes.
Would you mind if I go ahead and vet donations?
Yes, please.
Of
All
course,
right.
that takes precedence over everything.
We got a $50 donation from Rastafari. Good luck to both Worlds Collides runners. The WC community is full of lovely people and very welcoming to new players. And then we have another donation from A Grand Orange, $10 donation. Let's go, my man Knuckly Kong. Thank you to everyone for doing something so awesome for such a great cause. Also, with those last few donations, we have hit $500 total. Thank you everyone for your very generous donations. And that means that we have hit all of our goals except for our big stretch goal of 10 IQ shaving his head.
All right, everyone. Us commentary folks are back from a well-earned break this early on into the race. How were we going to survive the rest of it? I don't know, but here we are. How you doing now, Dirty?
I'm doing pretty good. That was a very nice. That was a very nice song. And something we forgot to mention early on, there was an objective attached to that for a high tier weapon, and it looks like it is an Atma weapon. So that's not a bad prize. Illumina would, of course, been a little nicer, but that can be a really strong endgame build for Celeste.
Absolutely. Good endgame weapon. Because the weapon is scaled entirely on character level, completely useless until you hit about level 30 or so.
Yeah.
So we'll be using other weapons and the shock command in the meantime. But Saberwolf, after performing that gorgeous aria for us, is now off to thwart a octopus that's going to probably turn into a completely different boss here in the Opera House.
That's right. He is not an appreciator of the arts. He's sent tons of letters into this place. Not a single one of them got answered, and he's decided to push a weight onto somebody as a result.
So here's the very first combat of the race. And, oh no, we have shock. Whatever are we going to do?
Yep, took care of that very nicely. Got a couple levels out of it.
Easy victory for Saber there, and going to jump up 3 levels immediately. Early levels always quick to get, thankfully. Do note that Saber has not found that all-important experience egg, so we'll have to face more enemies than Knuckly Kong will to level up here. But in the meantime, Knuckly Kong is going to go perform their aria. So enjoy seeing that without the music this time, I guess. But we'll focus on the action over on Saber's side for the next couple minutes.
And we'll get to see what the boss is at the end of this. And as you can notice, 2 or 3 levels being gained for each fight, but damage has been increasing pretty considerably just with those extra couple of levels.
You may as well consider your level stat a flat multiplier for damage.
Yeah.
You never see a level 1 character, but that would be your base damage. Multiply that theoretical number by your level, that's how much damage you do. Level is the most important stat in this game by far.
So, all right, we're going to see what Celeste has to fight off to get whatever reward is here. We already saw that South Figaro Basement was that was just a flame shield, just an item, no progression there. So we'll see if it's either here or down the much longer Magitech factory.
Well, we're going to be happy we have that flame shield because that's both total immunity to this boss, Tritalk, and if Saber so chooses, probably an instant kill if you were to break that shield.
Oh.
But with shock, no need, and with scaling as low as it is, that is a one-hit knockout. Saber, if we can see the webcam on the restream, celebrating like a thang, and we're going to see what our delicious reward is.
Yeah, he is pretty happy about that. That is seeing that the 4-digit damage this close is great. And hey, it's Locke. That is awfully appropriate.
It's exactly the opposite thing of what happens in the game. Locke kidnapping Sellies instead of vice versa. But even though we aren't able to use the other characters, this does open up a few different checks. And in this case, for a solo character, I'm pretty sure you want a Paladin shield. So I think that's the very first thing Saber is going to go look at. See how many battles to uncurse that little invincibility slot for Sellies is his left hand.
Yep, and that ribbon he did not sell is going to be coming in handy for this.
Yes, it technically could come in handy, but also do note that you can enter a battle with a different shield, then swap to the curse shield, not get the status effects, and the result of the battle will count as a W for that curse shield.
That is true.
It's all over, man!
Oh,
all over!
Oh, very nice. Oh, that is what that just hit me all over. And it's a skeleton that uses instant death attack. Okay. I feel
It's
very
a
dumb.
pume or a play on words.
Yeah, it's one of those jokes people talk about.
Humor. Anyway, that's a free Tiger Fang for Saberwolf. Ergo, it's some money next time you visit a shop.
Yeah, not necessarily a good stat stick, but worth a lot of cash, thankfully.
If only there was a level stat stick, then we might see stat sticks be used more in this game. Otherwise, when it comes to weapons, you want equipment that does stuff.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Like battle power and defense and magic defense are some of the most strong stats to have from equipment. You don't necessarily, unless you have specifically a mage, you don't really have to care too much about any of the main stats.
Absolutely right, you are. And when it comes to defense and magic defense, you don't really notice a difference in damage reduction until you have over 200 of both those stats. Oof, a little wince from Saberwolf. 14 battles for that paladin shield.
Just immediately taking the ribbon off.
I think for a solo character, it's still worth it, but this is a race after all.
14, I might consider doing that the method you described for a few fights, but then maybe you have to put it on for the minecart ride or something like that. But using that method so that you don't have to completely empty out your relic slots might work too. 14's a lot, but you're right that a paladin shield, oh boy, that would be really nice to have.
Well, the thing is, they are definitely going to be having more than 14 encounters over the rest of this race.
That's
They've
true.
got they have bare minimum 6 bosses they have to defeat in Kefka's Tower before the final encounter. They have whatever bosses they fight on the way for checks. And if they do something like you mentioned, the minecart ride or Leet River, for example, that has forced battles, that number is just going to start adding up. You'll have the Paladin Shield before Kefka's Tower if you put the work in now.
Yeah, that's true, I guess. Getting it pretty much right out of the gate is pretty good, which we're going to see Knuckly Kong doing here shortly as well. Going through the same random encounters as Saberwolf, but is wearing that experience egg, so is going to come out of it with a couple extra levels. Got turned into an imp. Didn't seem to stop things too much, though.
No, believe it or not, because Leo's a temporary command and FF6 is notoriously not a particularly well tested game. You can still use shock as an imp. Go right ahead, man.
I didn't even notice any damage reduction on that either.
Yeah, the imp status only reduces physical damage, I believe, and normally you would never even notice that it doesn't reduce magic damage because good luck using any magical type attacks while you're an imp.
Yeah, I guess you could break a rod, but that's it. Meanwhile, Saberwolf taking on the Red Dragon. He has Fire Shield, so...
Not too much to worry about here with that Fire Shield, exactly. Of note, depending on how their scaling is set up, Red Dragon does have some non-elemental magic, but we're fine. Oh, we're going to see some big numbers here over on Nuck's side. That Flame Shield's getting destroyed.
Oof.
6,000 damage from a level 10 character. Gotta love it. Insta-kill.
We know that Shock would have taken it out, but I still don't disagree with that move. Like, that's something you see, and it feels like it was meant to be, right? You found a Flame Shield immediately before running into Tri-Talk. Let's just break that over my knee. There we go. Done.
And hey, if you factor in animation time, that's 4 seconds saved over Shock. Shock takes a million years. Shock takes a million years to animate. Fire 3, boom, dead. Easy peasy.
Oof. Saberwolf running into level Pearl. So what that'll do is it will use the last digit of your GP as the multiplier to find out if it hits, and Saberwolf's GP had a 1 at the end.
Yeah,
That is-
and unfortunately, these Mount Zozo enemies drop just gigantic amounts of money. I think no matter how you scale it, the amount of gil you're going to get here is always ending in a 0.
Ooh.
So, yep, still in insta-jib territory there.
Yeah, that's an interesting problem to have. I'm not sure how I would solve that.
Well, if it is indeed elemental scaling, you can retry the battle, and the boss may choose to do a different holy elemental move that is more survivable.
Hmm.
Anyway, now we're seeing some actual route divergence. Saber opting for a free check one could do anytime, battling the Tritok spot here, and now does have a better number at the end of their gil count. Meanwhile, Nux is going through the South Figaro Cave, a lock theme check, and there's a boss battle here. Should not be an issue for this particular Celes, and then there'll be a reward shortly afterward.
Hey, very nice. Pearl didn't take her
Yeah,
out.
holding on by a thread, but still alive is the key word. Clutch block there. Weak ice spell is just going to do no damage. If Saber breaks that fire shield, it's over. That's the play here. Nope, going to try to play it safe and heal up.
I don't hate this. The scaling is pretty low, but you don't necessarily want to do something. You don't want something to run into it like, oh, he's opting to use shock.
Remember how we were talking about that ribbon earlier? We have a Celes under stop status on Knuckly
Ooh.
Kong's side right now.
That is something you definitely don't want to see in a single character run. In this case, I might consider resetting because the cave is pretty short. But, oh, never mind. That didn't last as long as I expected. All right, got through.
Well, we got
the
through
boss.
it. Celes saying no to dying is going to pull through on both streamers' sides, defeats potential roadblock bosses, a reward of an Esper for Saberwolf, and a unwelcome reward of a Go-Go for Knuckly Kong. Go-Go, I would say is actually one of the best characters in the randomizer because he can do whatever you want him to, but in a solo game, all he offers is his one check, and nobody likes going to the Zone Eater for some reason. Why is that dirty?
Well, in my experience, it's a rotten check that doesn't like you. There are 3 NPCs walking back and forth on a bridge. Stop me if you've heard this one before. If they touch you, you fall off the bridge.
Which one of them walks into the bar and says, ow?
Right, yeah. They're trying to screw in a light bulb. If they touch you, then you fall off the bridge to a level below. Not that big of a deal. There's a couple chests down there. Sometimes there's something nice in those chests, and if you don't feel too bad about it, however, then you have to go back upstairs and do it all over again. And sometimes it can take a little while because they move back and forth randomly. It's a bummer. We might not see it tonight, but if we do, that's what'll be going on.
We'll just have to make sure everyone breaks out their best Chancellor memes if we do visit the Zone Eater's belly.
Ooh, yeah.
Saberwolf electing for a different approach to the battle rather than using single target magic, just going to go, hey, I have shock. I'm going to use shock. Hey, boss, did you know I have shock? Hey, your hands are down. What are you going to do about it? No hands? Shock! Shock! I win.
Yeah, we've got a while before that stops being a very smart move to make for either of our runners. It looks like Knuckly Kong's heading up, going to be fighting the... oh my goodness, I can't remember that name. I keep thinking Dataluma, but it's not. That's the Karate Man.
It's Doulahan, even though if you look at the boss sprite, it's really not a Doulahan at all.
It's just a chariot guy.
And Knuckly Kong, prepared for this red dragon, gonna insta-kill it with an ice rod break. Very nice.
Okay, saved a little bit of time there. That took Saberwolf a couple more turns through using shock. Knuckly Kong just zipped right through it, got a bunch of experience, learned his Cure 3, got a flame shield out of it. Ooh.
And hey, that's a great find for Knuckly. Knuckly already broke their flame shield. Hey, now they got another one. That's another free 10,000 damage later on.
And another great thing for Saberwolf went down to Zen and found that experience egg that Knuckly had at the beginning. So now both of our characters are going to be getting these Celestes juiced up a lot sooner than later.
Yeah, gotta love seeing that. RNG not playing favorites here since they've both got everything they need. Minus that Uncursed Paladin shield and maybe a Ragnarok, a Lumina Sword. We'd like to see something like that.
Yeah, Zen, a pretty popular spot. A lot of people are going to be coming by here at the very least to check the thief in the back who could potentially have progression in the form of an Esper. But usually you're going to check the relic shop too while you're here, and that's a very nice place to put an experience
I love
egg.
the aggression
Yes.
from Nux. Breaking that shield again, like zero hesitation, goes, no, I do not want my boss fights to last more than one turn, thank you. You can have this shield. You can take this shield. And it will be the last shield you ever take.
I love it. I really like it. Just slid right through a boss. Catching up to Saberwolf here, who I think has a bit of a lead in checks. They both they both did the opera, so they both lost the time there to give us all a lovely sequence. But it seems like Saberwolf is ahead of.
Whoa.
Okay,
Let's rephrase that a bit. Let's rephrase that.
They both put in the necessary. I don't know if I can rephrase that. It took about 4 minutes, but neither one of them is missing those 4 minutes, so they're roughly the same amount of gameplay, but it seems like Saberwolf is a little bit ahead on progression.
A teeny tiny bit, perhaps. It's kind of hard to call who's ahead at this point, as they both have the same amount of progression, 3 characters, 2 Espers. Saber is going to go through the Magitech facility. As we mentioned, there's a few guaranteed battles up. If you're wanting a late Paladin shield, this would be a good time to try to get a few fights under the curse belt. And Knuckly Chong is choosing the same route. So we're going to have a race to see who gets through the Magitech facility first. Saberwolf with about a 1 minute lead going in here. But we'll see if that holds up.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, this is both of our runners are taking pretty similar paths, which I suppose is to be expected. Like, these are all smart plays. You know, it's not like one of them is doing something wacky to see if they can get, a luck advantage over the other runner. So it is kind of interesting to see this really slight divergence. You know, it looks like Knuckly Kong's just slowly gaining a couple seconds here and there to catch up, but they're not that far apart in general.
Nope. Saberwolf has a Mirage Vest equipped. It absorbs a physical attack at the start of the battle. Kind of handy until you get something better, at least. We're running into Air Force. Air Force is one of the most terrifying bosses to run into in the rando because it has 3 parts. They all hit hard and do crazy, nasty attacks. As you can see, Selly's hit points dropping to near nil. 2 shocks, though, might be... Yes, it's enough to get rid of the gunners, and now the fight is free.
Yeah, you want to get rid of those 2 things because they have decent attacks, and getting all 3 of them right at the start can be pretty nasty. And there it goes.
Thankfully, the order of attacks lined up that it was damage, and then percent of max HP based damage at the end. Rather than the other way around, that would have been a game over. But if we look at the offensive putout between Nux and Saber, Knuckly's shocks hitting almost twice as hard as Saber's. That's the power of that early experience egg in action.
Yeah, it's really worth it. Saberwolf ending this at level 23. We'll see what Knuckly Kong is at. And keep in mind, like, Saberwolf found the experience egg recently. So I think that would be those 3 fights in the Opera House and 2 bosses. That's about the experience value that Knuckly was able to get out of this.
That's probably about 6 levels worth at this point in the race, to be completely honest with you. That's a significant difference.
And yeah, especially early on.
Real quick, I would like to thank original bomb for the $20 donation. Here's for a very good cause. Art. Thank you.
All
Well,
right.
I'd like to
Bomb.
thank Original Bomb too. Thank you very much for the donation. That's why we're doing the marathon. Keep them coming.
Yeah, that's excellent. We got number 24 here in his normal spot. Going to take care of that business pretty quick.
Yeah, and this is a battle where that Mirage Vest might give Saber an advantage. The only dangerous thing number 24 does is a physical attack that inflicts confusion. If you have a confused character, you're probably not long for this world in FF6.
No, they do lots of damage to themselves, unfortunately. And when you only have
That
one
Esper.
character... Oh, like that one right there. Okay. Blocked it. Very nice.
Yeah, that Esper that Saber just picked up and Nux is about to pick up has Merton on it.
Merton and Quick,
So there's
I
their
noticed.
endgame offense.
Yeah, that's as
Quick
that's
for
as good a thing in it.
emergency, very nice with a solo character, of course. But Merton, they've got their endgame offense. They're not hunting for swords no more. Merton will carry you.
I would say if you're not doing like an offering Atma weapon type thing, you still might want Quick in order to completely avoid the Meteo counter from tier 3 at the end. But yeah, other than that, I think
yeah, absolutely, and make
but
sure
that's probably
that
the only spot.
It's a good panic button if you get into a bad
That's
spot,
true.
which can happen very easily with a solo character.
That's very true.
And times 15 rate, well, Saber knows Merton already, so unless we find something that resists fire or wind, which is like 3 bosses, there's probably not going to be any difficulty for either of these runners until we get very close to the end of the game.
I'm gonna fire it off here.
And
Good
already
idea.
switching over to Merton for the regular battles, which is a fantastic decision. It's a slightly faster cast than Shock.
Does more damage too. I believe that was about 1,000 more than Shock was doing in the previous fight.
It does at least 3 times as much damage as Shock. Shock is nice, Merton is better.
Whoa, yes. Okay, nope, you're right. Yeah, that's 3 times.
I am always right, dude.
So far, yes. Yeah, Knuckly Kong right behind him, 1 fight away from Magi Master at the end. This is... Honestly, you're probably still fine.
That bad. This isn't that bad because they do have a reliable means to damage the boss. The scaling hasn't caught up to the point where he's too dangerous. Dangerous, yes, but not outrageously so.
Yeah.
One slight oversight by Saber there. First attack on the boss, that would have been the time to cast Merton before he puts up elemental defenses.
So yeah, we saw Bolt 2 get through. Saber is still equipped with the Fire Shield, so Fire and Ice isn't any problem, and neither is Magi
Big
Master.
fist bump there from Saber Wolf, knowing that he got through a potential roadblock there on the first try.
So I'm not sure
what thought about it, but went back to the Shock as well. So perhaps they're not aware that there's no elemental resistances until he actually uses that wall change.
Honest mistake, honestly. But okay, looks like Knuckly does have the same kind of fire resistance, so must have found another flame shield at some point. Oop, quick math check.
Oh, there's flame shields all over the place in this seed. Oh, and look at that. We've got a Doomgaze guarding the exit here. That's a bit of a problem. Saberwolf going straight for the Shock, but Doomgaze is weak to fire and weak to holy. Pearl Rods, good time to bust it out. Merton, better time to bust it out, I'd say.
Yeah, that would definitely be the move to clean up the last of this. Knuckly Kong coming up right behind him. Oh, cracking one of his flame shields. Hey, that works too.
Well, hey, at this point, when you've got a couple kicking around, it's
right,
to do it. Oh, look at the dramatic, magical girl super pose from Saberwolf there. Love it.
He's happy he did it.
Yeah, but you can start to see how now that we're getting some levels under our belt and the enemies are getting some levels under their belt, shock kind of starting to fall off a little bit. Thankfully, we do have other nice ways of dealing damage.
Yeah, Merton's going to be very handy here pretty soon for both of our runners. Saberwolf on the Esper he just picked up found Life 3. That's going to be another handy spell to put in your list as a panic button type thing, or just
It's
to
kind of a,
pop it on.
oh, there comes the doom. There comes the
Oof.
doom, so that's a reset there. Dodged one, but not the second one.
So,
Hopefully, Knuckly Kong has a safety bit kicking around in their inventory. I imagine that's the first thing they're going to look for here. And it looks
alas.
like they do not. So this is going to be a damage race. You got to just straight up take the boss out before that doom spell lands, which is totally within Nux's ability to do so. We know that we've got that Pearl Rod for max damage. A Fire Shield breaks another max damage. Merton, honest to God, is probably max damage. They just haven't used Merton on this guy yet.
So when faced between the decision of Phoenix Cave or Zone Eater, Saberwolf opted for Zone Eater. We saw the little bridge guys there for a second. Didn't give him too much trouble, thankfully.
Yeah, that's pretty fortunate, actually. Just kind of, Mary Poppins floated right over that bridge there. Good job, Saberwolf. Anyway, we've got Nux breaking out the quick spell here. We mentioned how useful that can be for a solo
Yeah.
character. And in a case like this, well, doubling the amount of turns that you have is definitely going to give you a huge advantage. Don't know why Nux is going for Fire 2 over Merton here, but there's 1,000 damage, I suppose. But keep the quicks coming. Those will get you through the battle.
Maybe they have fiddled with their equipment in a way that they don't have that fire resistance anymore.
Or it could
Pretty
be
sure.
that I'm misremembering and Doomgaze resists or nulls air attacks, perhaps?
Oh, that's possible. Well, either way, it's gone. No matter what, the bosses are all weak to damage. So if you can put those numbers up, they'll go down, and there goes Doomgaze.
Oh yeah, any boss can be beaten as long as you can deal a single point of damage to it. And here's the most important thing, not die.
Yep.
Speaking of which, for those of you just tuning in, this marathon is benefiting Americans Against Suicide Foundation. Please feel free to send a donation, even if you can't do that. If you know anyone who doesn't seem quite right in their life right now, make sure that you're being supportive to them. Try to be as optimistic and helpful as you can there. Little things like that go a long way for people that are suffering from those dark thoughts of, well,
Speaking of the charity and donations, we just got a huge donation from Papa Shango, a $125 donation with no comment. Thank you so much, Papa Shango.
Papa Shango, there's a name I haven't heard in a while. Thank you very much for the donation. We appreciate that.
I really appreciate the community for coming out for this. Thank you, Papa Shango. That's fantastic. So back to the race. Looks like Knuckly Kong is taking a trip down into the Zone Eater as well. No character down there, so definitely going to have to go to the Phoenix Cave next. But there is an Esper down there, thankfully, so it's not a complete waste of time.
It's progression at the very least.
Yeah. So we'll see how much luck he has with these guys. Ooh, that was close. Hey! All right.
Look at those ninja moves from Sellies. All right, the awful bridge chancellor's not going to be an issue. Unfortunately, that means we probably aren't going to have very many chancellor memes today, but hey, we just love seeing them get right through that stuff. Good.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody likes those guys. Everyone likes seeing them get defeated. Very happy that both of our runners were able to skate right on through that.
Hate's an understatement. They like, Naruto ninja run through that thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Knuckly especially. That was really impressive.
Actually, no, I apologize for that tasteless reference. Nobody likes Naruto. They instant transmission through that. There we go. That's much better.
I mean, I agree with what you did, but no comment.
So anyway, the Faux Enix Cave, as it is pronounced phonetically, another lock check. It's a two-party check, so I guess for fans of Lock, you'll get to see him run around and stand on some spikes. But otherwise, no, we are still keeping to the rule of solo Sellies. She will handle all combats entirely by her lonesome. Saberwolf electing to save some spike tile damage there, so I think we're going to see a dragon fight for Saberwolf coming up momentarily.
I really enjoy this little animation where they jump over the rocks. It's super cheap. I love it. Doing, doing.
On the subject of animation, it's amazing how lively the characters in this game look. If you've ever seen how many frames of animation each character has, I think it's less than 20 for absolutely everything they do.
Yeah, like if you get the full sprite sheet, it can be not quite as much as you think, but they get a lot of work out of it.
Just goes to show the level of creativity on these good old games. They just don't make them like this anymore, folks. And it's Durgan time.
Yep. Storm
it's
Durgan.
The Storm Durgan.
That's another one you can't use Merton on. This guy, I believe, absorbs wind.
You are correct. Absorbs wind and is weak to electricity. If you had a Thunderblade kicking around, it'd be a nice time to bust that weapon out.
Shock seems to be doing the trick, at least. Only 3,000 damage, which, yeah, at this point...
3,000 damage a shot. You'd like a little more, but it'll get the job done.
Yeah, you're not going to turn your nose up at it, but... Especially if you were seeing... if you've been using Merton or, some sort of... some sort of a big sword at this point, which I think both of our runners are starting to approach the part where the Atma weapon starts to get useful, but with no offering found yet, that's probably not going to be used in favor of a spellcaster.
Oh, I'd still use the Atma without an offering. It's a solid 5,000 damage every time you pick the attack command.
It's definitely a good thing to get through a lot of situations like that where Merton might not be useful.
It also ignores defense. That is one of the most important properties a weapon can have in this game.
Yeah, that's huge. Well, all right, looks like Knuckly's going to be taking on the dragon too.
Shocking. Positively shocking.
Yeah, that level lead is shrinking now that both of our runners have had access to that experience egg, so...
I like that Nux is experimenting around, trying to find ways to deal more damage than just shock. Oh god, no! No, please, no!
It's him.
Please, no! It's him! We don't want him!
Yeah, Saberwolf is not too happy, as you can see on his camera there. Oh, okay, never mind. We're doing this now.
Gertie, tell us about the horrors that is Old Man Strago.
Well, I personally don't think he's quite as bad as the memes make him out to be. However, he is unfortunate, especially at this late in the game. His checks take a minute. There is Burning House, which is a small dungeon with a bunch of tough-to-avoid encounters in it. Then there is the Fanatics Tower, which is magic only, although, Merton takes care of a lot of that. And then there's Ebbett's Rock, which requires randomly going through different rooms through teleporters to find the coral that you need to feed the last chest. It's a lot of weird stuff. There's not a whole lot of standard, just memorize the layout and run to the boss as fast as you can type checks with that guy. Plus the stats.
Well, there's one, but it's what, 37, 38 floors of walking upstairs.
I think it's actually 40, but yes. It's
worse than Ghostbusters on the NES, man.
Yeah. It was inspired by it, actually. So yeah, Knuckly
Yeah,
getting
there
their
you go,
character.
Sakaguchi and Co. We're watching AVGN episodes through a time machine and decided to make that dungeon. There you go.
So it looks like Saberwolf is sticking to the world of ruin. Gonna go up a bunch of flights of stairs first. And Knuckly is doing the same thing. It's that's the decision I would have made. So I can't fault either of them for it. And hey, you know right away you're gonna get a realm there. That's two much better options right in front of you.
That's the
Yeah.
reason why you come here first. If Strago's your only option, you at least know what the reward's going to be. I guarantee you, if they did not see a character, they both would have turned around and gone somewhere else.
Yeah.
Anyway,
probably
that
do.
pickup right there for Saberwolf, Red Cap is the best helmet in the entire game. Maybe some other things have better stats, but like we talked about, you want pieces of equipment that do things in Final Fantasy VI. The Red Cap increases your maximum hit points by 25% of the base value. No other hat can compete with that thing.
It's definitely the best defensive one. I might pop a Magus hat on somebody if they're casting a bunch of spells, but yeah, the red cap is always, you're always happy to find that. Cat Hood, I think, may come in at a close second to it, but
yeah, we've
here's
got a
one
Blue
of
Dragon battle here, and Merton not going to hit any weaknesses, but it's going to work. And Knuckly Kong not even going to bother with the dragon, and you know what? I respect that. At this point, the level from having the experience egg early, definitely sufficient enough. So you get a free ice shield out of the box. Hey, that's a free 10k damage. We've seen how liberal Knuckly Kong is with breaking those shields for massive damage. Gotta love it. But let's see what the boss is here at the top of Fnatic's tower.
ooh, Poltergeist.
This one's potentially tricky. Ice Shield isn't going to hit a weakness. It's actually weak against poison. But if I'm playing a solo character against this guy, the first thing I'm hunting for is a stop spell, or failing that, a reflect spell.
Yeah, Wall Ring would work in a pinch, but you wouldn't necessarily have it equipped, so up here at the top of the tower, it would be kind of a bummer. Thankfully,
yeah, but
Knuckly's still absorbing fire.
The fortunate thing there is that both runners have to face the boss. So if something untoward happens to Knuckly here, Saber's just going to be as equally unprepared to deal with it. I don't think Saberwolf has the ribbon on the other slot right at this moment. Anyway, it's not going to matter. Knuckly Kong's poison rod preparation. Hey, man.
Yeah, that worked out pretty well.
Just use biological warfare. Just throw some mustard gas at it. That'll solve everything.
I was really curious when those are going to pop out. I noticed him purchase 3 of them early on in the game, and that was the only thing I could think of was maybe something to use against Poltergeist. But I figured the damage would be so low, wouldn't do much for it. But those poison rods were cracking for about 3k a piece.
Well, remember, when it comes to breaking an item to cast a spell, the damage that they do does ignore defense. It doesn't ignore elemental resistances, etc., but it does ignore the defense stat. So, great way to deal damage. Saberwolf does have the bio spell available, so that'll help out. Has the fire shield on. So, really, the only threat here for Saberwolf is getting hit with a stop spell. If you get hit with a stop spell, which is part of this guy's oh god, the moment I said it, commentator's curse. No, it missed.
I forgot.
But if any of your characters are hit with stop status in this battle, the boss's AI script is programmed to target a character with the stop spell and use an instant death move that can't miss on them. That's bad.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a scary one to run into in a single character run, because you either need very specific defenses against stop specifically, which thankfully it looks like Saberwolf got through. We'll hope that he has done enough damage to get out of the phase where the boss casts stop.
That bio spell's putting in work there, 3,000 damage apiece. Gonna be out of MP now, so If this doesn't do it, might be time to break an ice shield, but nope, there it is. You can see wiping the brow in relief is Saberwolf. Spicy Chicken is down. And looks like we've got a bit of a lead change here. Knuckly Kong now ahead, but keep in mind, Saberwolf did run into that random Doomgaze spot battle. If you don't have the
that's
character
true.
setzer, it's just a random battle you can run into when flying around in the World of Ruin. And that battle did reward an Esper. So Saberwolf does have one more Esper than Knuckly Kong right now. So what we're going to find out here, Turdy, is that one Esper advantage truly the advantage? Or is the time advantage that Knuckly Kong has, about 1 minute over the route that they seem to be following, going to be worth it?
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what Realm has in her checks. If she has 2 Espers, then Saberwolf has got this. I think he'll be able to take that progression advantage and get into heading towards the final boss first. But if either of Realm checks are dead, then I think. I don't know. It could go either way, I think. 1 minute is a pretty decent amount, but it's not. It might not take you all the way to the end of the game.
Yeah, we'll just have to see what happens here. Anyway, Nux is going straight to Jador World of Ruin. This is the correct play. Realm has 2 checks. The other one is faster than this one, but there's a little gambler's paradox present in World of Ruin Jador that is the auction house, which may may not have Espers. And if it has Espers, they may or may not even be available for purchase.
That is true. There's a pretty big sense of randomness there. We'll see if either of our runners go after that. Knuckly heading into Jador first, while Saberwolf is going to be checking the peekable one first. All right, no character there, so we know it's not a character, but we'll see if they actually get an Esper or an item out of this one. Item's still not something to sneeze at. Could be one of those endgame swords we were talking about earlier. And Illumina is going to be a very, very nice find for either of our runners. Probably will change the course of how they're building their characters.
Well, it could, but we know we have an Atman and Offering, and both of our Cellieses are in the early 40s, so that's online. It's not overwhelming yet, but it's a solid 4 2,000 damage strikes a turn if you want to go for it.
I completely missed the Offering. That was on the Blue Dragon, wasn't it?
It was indeed.
All right, then yeah. I wouldn't. I guess I wouldn't be too worried about getting an Illumina after that point. The Offering Atma weapon's a great spell or combo. Got a Magicite from it.
Carbuncle for Saberwolf. So that's up to 8 Espers on Saberwolf out of a required 9.
6 characters.
Nux is fighting a boss that uses fire moves. Guess who's using a fire shield and has nothing to fear?
Mm-hmm. I just noticed that both of our runners are on 5 characters, so there's still 1 character that they have to find out there before they can go to the final. Go on to the final boss.
Yeah, and for those of you who love chaos, it's not behind Realm, so we're gonna go see some more crazy Strago stuff. I apologize, pardon me for just a moment. I have a daddy's daughter issue. I'll be back in just 1 moment.
Not a problem. So it looks like, Knuckly's heading over to Esper Mountain. Going to do the other half of Realm's checks. So looking at the chat a little bit, it looks like somebody saw that Kefket Narsh is not a character. I had not seen the top of World of Balance Narsh just yet, so I will take your word for it on that. If that's the case, Probably Ebbets Rock, I would think would be that would be a good one to start on. That ends you in Thamasa, so, or at the very least ends you nearby it, so you can go ahead and do Burning House after that if you want. If you need to, I suppose, because there is going to be a character that's needed. Popping open the monster in a box here. I think, wait. Did I miss something? Ooh, Knuckly taking a reset. Unfortunate. Scullion is scary. If you can manage to get through it, it's a big gob of experience points, but okay, he reset. Oh, I missed that. Thank you, chat. Appreciate it. Saberwolf just deciding, yeah, never mind. I don't really feel like dealing with this. Oh, that's very strange. I did not realize that presenter could show up. I must have missed that in Knuckles as well. Oh, there's an extra Atma weapon if you want it. Knuckly making his way through Shiva and Ifrit there. Pretty simple. Using shock to get through Ifrit's incredible elemental resistances. Pretty much ice or nothing. So Knuckly opting to warp out instead of grabbing a couple extra chests. And it looks like Knuckly is going to go up and check Kefka at Narsh. We already know, of course, but I do agree with this. I probably would prefer to do that at this point than doing both of Strago's checks. If it's a character, then great. Go ahead and do this one. Something that's kind of interesting, again, with a one-character party, you can do this as soon as you get the second character, since, you only need to have the one person in the one party. Yeah, Saberwolf coming up.
We do have a Kefka at Narsh being checked. Is that what we are seeing right now, Turdy?
Yes. Unfortunately, Saberwolf checked it earlier, and it is a ghost. Decided wasn't interested. Let's see if Knuckly decides to. Yep. Just going to go ahead and take it. I don't mind this. This is going to be Esper number 9 for them. They're going to need that regardless, and unfortunately, that does mean that they're going to have to go into Strago's other 2 checks. And Saberwolf just cracking an ice shield, taking care of business.
Grumpy old men, you just can't get away from them, Turdy. They're everywhere. Just when you think you may have an out, it turns out that it was a ghost all along.
That's true. But hopefully that ghost has a magic rock for me, because I really could use one. Ooh, ran into the soldier fight.
This actually isn't a terrible fight to run into. Kefka's Tower enemy pack, not difficult to defeat. Tons of experience points for you.
Yeah, this is definitely worth your time. You don't necessarily want to run into anybody up here if you can help it, but yeah, 2 turns, not too bad for 13,000 experience. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, those endgame battles, they have endgame payouts. Yeah, we'll go straight to another one. Yeah, throw that Merton out again. Did wonders last time.
Doesn't quite take out the beam.
Hard to argue with Merton when it heals you, too, at the same time.
All right, Saberwolf heading into Ebbets Rock. Time to count.
So,
5.
What are we putting the over-under on here in terms of time to get all the coral and get to the boss?
Well, that teleporter combo wasn't too great there, but they have found 7 so far.
that's
So.
fortunate. Nux had Doom cast Northern Cross, which is a spell that inflicts freeze status. There's no defense against freeze status, but it does have a high miss chance. And in this case, it did miss. Otherwise, well, we would have been looking at Doom beat on an Icy Cellies for like 2 minutes, so thank God for that.
Yeah, it takes a while to wear off, and Merton typically would be a very, very good counter to the freeze status, but unfortunately, if you've only got one character, it's not really helping you too much.
Well, at this point, whenever Doom's aura begins shaking, the fight is free because all he uses is physical attacks. Physical attacks, unless the scaling gets out of control, they're not a threat.
Yeah, especially considering both of these Celestes, I think, are close to, if not exceeding, level 50 at this point. But
yeah, a level that is overkill in normal situations, but for a solo character, you want as many levels, or more importantly, as many hit points as you can get.
Yeah.
Oh, Saberwolf's going to be the first to defeat Kefka. That's it. That's the end.
Congratulations to Saberwolf.
Oh, wait, no, that's not the real Kefka. It's just the illusion Kefka. I'm sorry. I got way too excited there.
Oh, nope, he ran away. It doesn't count. Gonna have to go find him in the tower anyway.
Anyway, it is an Esper, though, for Knuckly Kong. It's a Shoat, but most importantly, it's a character for Saberwolf. It's Mog the Moogle, that's character number 6. And with that fortuitous battle against the tentacles in the sky, you just saw it pop up on screen there. Saberwolf has unlocked Final Kefka.
So neither of our runners opted to go through Kefka Tower earlier. They're both going to take care of it all right now, and they don't, unfortunately, have the necessary requirements with characters and espers for skip. So they're going to have to take 3 treks on up there, which is going to have to be done in kind of the right order. They can do left and right in whichever order they want, but the last one's going to have to be the center. Or no, I got that backwards. They're going to left and center is going to have to be first, and right is going to have to be last. The way that everybody crisscrosses up there.
Well, this is going to be a little interesting compared to your average Worlds Collide race, as normally, if you see someone go through Kefka's Tower more than once, it's because something has gone awfully wrong, and we've needed to stack a party to get past a troublesome boss. But in this case, it's just kind of par for the course, since we're playing solo character only.
Yep, it's required. Knuckly, thankfully, going through Ebbett's Rock before going through the Burning House, so they are going to get their 6th character too, and will be shortly entering Kefka's Tower, only a couple minutes behind Saberwolf. Well, I guess depending on how these chests... Yeah.
We hope, but Ebbett's Rock and Ebbett's Rock, like, we could theoretically be in this dungeon until the end of time. Isn't that a scary thought? It's a scary thought in the same way that, we must have some baseball fans in chat. Has it ever considered or crossed your mind the fact that a baseball game can potentially never end?
That's true.
That's the situation we might be in right now. Except we're not, but thankfully we're not. But it could happen. It could happen.
We've avoided it. We've avoided the statistical anomaly. It doesn't always work. I know there's a couple of really fantastic clips out there of, I believe, Moogleplex not getting engulfed by the Zone Eater for, I want to say it's like 16 or 17 turns in a row. It's technically possible, but...
Old School Runner Mr. Entity has a 15-minute clip of not getting through Ebbett's Rock. 15 minutes.
Man. Okay, that's pretty bad. All right, Knuckly taking care of his fake Kefka.
Oh yeah, fake Kefka. He gone. All right, so Saberwolf was taking Path 3 first. This is the correct choice because It's the only path until the parties converge and split up again where you have to defeat a boss.
Yep.
And the boss is... Oh no, it's Dataluma.
All right, that's,
Electing for the Ice 3 over the Merton? Okay, sure. I mean,
Oh.
it's probably comparable. I just like
Yeah.
Merton. It's just a cool spell.
I mean,
Like, how amazing is it to just have a tornado of fire destroy everything, not just in front of you, but beside you? Oh,
It's really
thank God we
cool.
got those fire shields.
It's really fast. It's a great spell. I can kind of see maybe wanting to cast Ice 3 if it costs a lot less, but otherwise, yeah. If I have Merton and everybody is capable of resisting Merton, I kind of want to use it as often as possible.
It's, believe it or not, slightly stronger than Ultima. In a vacuum. In a vacuum. Merton doesn't ignore defense like Ultima does, so in practicality, Ultima is stronger. But
I believe also,
if you're
isn't
hitting
it?
if you're hitting a weakness,
Oh yeah,
Merton
that's
might be
true.
better than
Merton's
Ultima.
definitely better if you're in a weakness. I believe, isn't it also, since it also targets you, you don't get that single target benefit? Does that apply to Ultima as well?
Oh no, Ultima does get double damage if there's only one target on the field.
Okay.
It's busted. It's busted. It's an I win button. It's hilariously stupidly overpowered, and that's why in most quote unquote serious races of Worlds Collide, it is not available by any means whatsoever. Be it espers, equipment, natural magic, just a random lucky command. No. You do not get Ultima. Ultima is like firing the BFG from Doom 50 times with the same trigger pull. It's complete overkill for everything in the universe.
I believe it did get added into Ultros League a couple seasons ago. It's set at I want to say it's 254 MP or something like that, which I don't know. In my experience, at least, it doesn't quite work as a permanent I win button unless you happen to have an economizer on you. MP management starts to get a little dicey.
All it really does at that point is give you an incentive to actually equip an economizer rather than sell it for a cool 20,000 gil, my friend.
Oh, that's true. Finally, something to do with the gem box.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. Gem box is actually amazing situationally. In a single character run like this, especially where they have access to quick, I would love a gem box. That is 6 spells a turn.
As you may be noticing, there's some puzzle solving going on, but we're going to be seeing this walk a couple more times as we head on up Kefka's tower.
Yeah, the puzzle solving, it's not different anytime ever, so I wonder if maybe, I know this is a little bit of an extreme thought here, maybe we should consider updating the randomizer to just kind of take that little puzzle solving bit out here, because every time there's a race and we're commentating, we just talk about whatever we want right now. Actually, no, that's nice. I like talking about whatever I want.
Yeah, hey, wait a minute.
In.
Talked you back into it.
I talked myself back into it.
I do really like the 4-ton weights also. Those are very funny. Very specific amount of weight. Both of our runners running into...
we should randomize how many tons the weight is.
Ooh, there we go. I actually like that idea. Very simple sprite edit. Both of our runners taking a boss out at the same time. Both runners also running into the irritating part of Dataluma's battle script where he uses a bunch of items on himself. Ends up taking a bunch of time and is ultimately for nothing since it's 2 tonics and a potion.
The protect / safe spell can matter for certain parties, but
that's true.
Yeah, by and large, it's just a time waster. It's based on an HP threshold, so unless you're one-shotting the boss, you are going to see that little time waster no matter what.
Oh, Knuckly taking on the Skull Dragon here along the way. Looking for some extra...
Hey, why not? Remember, it's a solo character game. There is no such thing as too high of a level.
That's true. Ooh, confusion might be bad.
We did talk about how bad that confusion status can be. Thank God Celes has over 5,000 hit points because, well, that shock did half of her life.
Ooh.
And thank God she whacked herself out of it because this is a marathon to prevent suicide, and Confused Celes was trying her darndest right there, and we don't appreciate that. Disaster's not good either. Now she's confused and an imp. Oh, and she has evade, so she can block her own physical strikes. Maybe this Skull Dragon wasn't the best choice in the world.
Yeah, this is extremely unfortunate. I wouldn't necessarily expect to run into this sort of thing either. So I can kind of see Knuckly right now in my head, just going like, "What's going on here? I thought this was a sure thing."
Well, remember, we were talking about the importance of a relic like the ribbon earlier on.
Yep.
A ribbon would have prevented all of that there. As much as Worlds Collide is an offensive first randomizer, in a situation where you're playing a solo character, I would sacrifice a bit of my offense for a bit of defense just to make sure that I don't get into a situation where I have to wipe, reset, and lose progress, because now Nux has to defeat Data Loom again, and meanwhile, Saber's lead is growing. They've cleared out one of the paths through to the final boss, and they're just running right through doing all the puzzle, boring stuff again because, well, it's a solo character. You can't have them on all three paths simultaneously. But this is going to be the second path clear out for Saberwolf, whereas Nux is still working on the first one.
Oh, he is. Stood around and counted in the air. I'm not sure what that was, but maybe he was punishing himself for
An accidental
trying to.
tab, maybe?
Oh, maybe.
I did see the character move a little faster than expected, but I thought that was just a stream thing. Maybe
Could
maybe
have
your
been.
Saber
Yeah.
will accidentally press the fast forward key for the emulator.
Honest mistake.
Oh yeah, happens all the time.
Especially if you like map it to your controller or something like that.
Well, I mean, if you're playing a game with a controller, why on earth would you want to like get up out of your comfortable, relaxing, lazy boy pose to
Exactly.
go up, lean over your laptop / desktop computer, tablet maybe even, and hit a button to speed the game up? No one wants to do that. Of course you map it to the controller. Accidental input, no one's holding it against anybody.
Knuckly getting revenge on the Skull Dragon very successfully, I might add.
It was weak to fire.
Comes up a lot.
It's like the dude in Zelda 2 told us, if all else fails, use fire.
Yep. It's good advice. Especially in Final Fantasy VI.
Yeah, absolutely. Fire is by far the best element in this game. I think we've mentioned that a few times already, but it bears repeating. Fire is the best element in this particular Final Fantasy game. And I mean, maybe you're surprised by that, but consider that, the main character is specialized around fire magics and fire elemental weapons. I mean, come on. It's obvious. Use the fire spell. It's good.
So Saberwolf taking a quick look at his espers here, going to see if there isn't a stat or a spell he wants to grab near the end here.
It can never hurt to be thorough. I think between Quick Life 3 and Merton and Cure 3, you've got everything you need for a solo character. Particularly
Yeah.
that Life 3, that's the one that's going to get you out of a ton of problems.
There was a
And
mute.
I just want to say here, I would be amazed. Maybe not so much for Nux, but for Saber. If Saber doesn't have a ribbon on in the final battle to protect against those potential zombie attacks, I'll be confused.
Yeah. There's.
I think that accessory is unfortunately stapled on to a solo character for the final battle. So it'll be the next of the 3 Guardian bosses, statue spots, whatever you want to call them. I think it's perfect to call them Guardian bosses because they guard the entrance to the final battle. Oh no, it's Funbaba!
Yeah, this guy can be kind of a pain. He's got a lot of HP. Probably not going to do much damage, but yeah, 438 is not too bad.
Yeah, we never did find that Minerva for our Cellies, unfortunately. So these Thunder attacks are going to actually matter since both of our runners are running the Flame Shield. Neither of them bothered to uncurse that Paladin Shield after all. 14 battles sounds like a lot, but they both would have been there ages ago if they put the effort in. Just saying.
Yeah, Saberwolf has 15 bosses just on just himself, and Knuckly just hit 14 also. But I think that might.
And that's just bosses. That's just bosses.
To go back to what you were saying
Let
earlier,
us not
though,
forget that they each fought, like 3 or 4 dragons apiece, and then 5 or 6
Oh, yeah.
random encounters. We had that thing a million years ago. It's
I
okay, though.
I will say that it might be just the worry about defense. Like the Cursed Shield does give you all of those status ailments, which is a bummer, but the thing that ends up tripping people up, I think, a lot more is it gives you a lot of elemental weaknesses. So since they didn't find something like
Namely
the Minerva
all of them,
to
yes.
kind of... Yeah, right. So since they didn't find something like the Minerva to counteract all that, I think I can kind of understand just wanting to write it off and swap around the other elemental shields as you find them as needed.
Yeah, when you have as many elemental shields as they do, I can totally understand that. And I'm going to be honest, I think both of them were basically expecting to see a Minerva at some point.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that it's the single best body piece in the game by like a million years, you always seem to find at least one in any given seed, given that the average player opens at least 70 chests. There's a few dead checks that have a chance to award it. Maybe you check the Coliseum, and hey, we have shops set up where pretty much anything can show up in them with a given probability. You might find one there. It's kind of rare not to see that premium piece of defensive equipment around.
And it's in the item list for non-progression checks. It's really easy to come across one to such a point that I will often find myself with a Minerva that nobody can wear. Because I think only Celeste and Terra can wear it naturally. Everybody else just has a chance to, based on the flag set. All right, Knuckly Kong up to level 59 there, 6,000 HP on his Celeste.
Knuckly Kong's also been rocking the muscle belt accessory, which is plus 50% HP. I can definitely get behind that decision in most situations. But compare that to Saber. Remember, Saberwolf looted like 3 extra chests in Fanatic's Tower, and that difference got Saberwolf a red cap, so no need for a muscle belt to get a ton of extra HP.
Yeah, Knuckly also opting to fight other bosses along the way. Just dealt with what we all affectionately refer to as Toilet Atma. Main game, there's a monster there called Atma, and he happens to be standing in front of a toilet. I believe that's the whole explanation. Getting another item out of that and some extra experience. Plus, it was just the leader, not a big deal. Everyone loves the leader.
Now,
I love the leader.
One thing I'm curious about at this point. Oh yeah, all hail the leader. I love the leader. Since we're approaching those like early 60 levels, even if you're not willing to use the offering, and there's a good reason not to use the offering against boss fights with multiple targets, single strike Atma weapon at full health is still going to deal a solid 5k. I wonder if we'll finally see that weapon brought out by either player in the final battle. For the first 2 tiers, I wouldn't think so, because Merton is just going to flatten the 2 of those like it ain't no thing. But when you get to tier 3, tier 4, that Atma weapon might be your best offense.
Even in those the first tier, I suppose at least, it might be handy to put a little bit of extra damage on the face and the hand, so you don't necessarily kill them in the wrong order.
Nope.
You want to
The
want to
face
defeat those
and
guys
the
in the
hand
right.
that you want to kill in the two ones that you want to defeat first are weak to fire and wind respectively, and the one you want to save for last has no such weakness. Cast Merton. It works.
All right.
It's amazing. It's like the designers looked at how they set up everything in that first phase and are like, okay, let's give the player a spell that if they're brave enough to use magic that might hurt their own team, it will do exactly what it needs to get them that head start on our final battle that we've intricately crafted over 4 phases and 10 different opponents.
Yeah, I suppose even in the main game, it's pretty easy to get a full party immune to Merton. Probably easier,
A couple
honestly.
of flame and/or well, really any elemental shield will give you immunity to it. You'd rather the fire to absorb it, but then the Figaro Bros got their red jackets. Umaro has accessories. Yeah, Merton is definitely playable, but the average player reading the description of the spell says that it hurts your own team is going to be like, why would I ever use this?
Yeah, you just write it off.
But
you don't think about it.
If you understand at least the elemental system of the game, you cast and it's like, okay, this spell just kind of ends everything if my characters can, either protect against it or absorb it. This spell is really good.
Here's a situation where it might hurt a little bit more than help. We got Welk here. Can't attack the shell, so Merton, which is a multi-target attack.
Weapon.
This would be a good time
Single
to have
strike
that
Atma
weapon
weapon.
on.
That'd be the best end.
2 ice 3s
Exactly.
did the damage, though.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But, see, that's why a lot of the more advanced runners of FF6 Collide, and for any of you potential new players, keep this in mind. At high-level play for Worlds Collide, a lot of the margins of victory come down to who uses, attacks and commands that have less animation time, because people are just equally good at movement, decision-making, and the like. Fight command is faster than anything else you can do in combat. If you can do 5,000 damage with a sword strike, use that every time over a spell that deals 7,000 damage because it's faster.
Yeah, especially if you're casting some of the longer animation spells. Like Ice 3 does a really good job, especially against Tiger Face and the final boss, but it does take a little bit longer than, say Fire 3, for example, which just shoots a fireball from the sky at somebody. It's nice and quick. It's over with.
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately, as the chat says, it is unfortunately sometimes flare o'clock. You do run into some situations where you gotta. Hey, sometimes that's all you can do against Magimaster, man.
Sometimes it is, but let's not develop. This is supposed to be a stream that encourages positivity, looking forward to the good things in life. We are not talking about flare on this stream. Have I made myself clear?
It's very long. But Saberwolf,
it takes like 8 million seconds to cast. Well, actually, it's more like 13, but that's still really bad.
That's a lot of seconds. Saberwolf stepping on those switches at 126.07. Gonna head on into the final boss. Meanwhile, Knuckly Kong is dealing with, I believe this is their second of 3 statue bosses.
That is correct, Turdy. Yep. So significant advantage for Saberwolf going into the final battle, but solo character, anything can go wrong. It's still anyone's game. I don't want to see anything go wrong, mind you, but Nux is not out of this yet. But maybe from what we've seen about Nux, they need to rein in that lack of restraint for offense a bit here. Solo character, completely different game. You need to pay a little bit of attention to your defenses. If Nux can make that adjustment and something untoward happens to Saberwolf, we could see a gigantic switch in terms of who's ahead at the very least.
Oh, unfortunately, cannot keep those characters out of the final battle. But there we go.
Well, they're unfortunately, something that wasn't thought about ahead of time was to just set the the joining characters' levels to always be level 3, but this Merton cast from Sellies will at least take care of the extras. So we're back to our solo game.
There we go.
And as I mentioned, this first form, the face and the longer arm, are both weak to Merton, whereas the shorter arm is not. But Sellies' elevated level has the Merton spell almost hitting max damage without hitting the weakness, so Saberwolf wisely going to switch over to Fire 2. Level 2 spell hitting 6,000 damage. That's how higher level has gotten here.
That's pretty incredible. So the reason that Saberwolf is doing this is the order that you defeat all of these little parts matters as we're going to climb up the tower. In this particular case, the face and long arm, that's one on the monster's right, both have nasty counterattacks when they are taken out last. Neither of which will probably, neither of them will probably be much to. They'll put a dent in Celeste, but I don't think they'll take her out entirely. But still opting
with
to.
that gigantic HP pool, she would be fine. Quake does about 2,000.
Quake wouldn't take her out.
I would be more concerned about, because the long arm, if it really hates you, could potentially do 3 of them in a row when it's defeated. It's the last target.
But also popping on life 3, pretty good call early on. You don't want anything nasty to happen to you, and then have to redo this whole fight. I think once Saberwolf gets to tier 2 here, which it looks like he's on his way, priority 1 is getting rid of Tigerface, right? Because you do not want to take that zombie attack. I don't know if Saberwolf put a ribbon on Celeste before starting this fight.
I think Saberwolf had the heads-up play to do so, but I was not checking the setup. But even so, even if has the ribbon on or even an amulet to just prevent zombie status, the Tigerface can still inflict freeze status, which is obviously very bad.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still priority number 1 because there's no way to defend against the freeze status. Muting the part that only casts spells effectively takes it out. It's not a true instant kill, but it can't do anything at this point. That's what's important.
Yeah, you still have to hit it a few times afterwards.
This Odin summon isn't perfectly accurate, but in this case, it did hit the one part of tier 2 that is vulnerable to instant death. So really, it's 1-on-2 and not 1-on-4 at this point. One of the parts only uses physical attacks, which, as we can see, aren't too threatening with our decent set of endgame gear. And using Ice 3, the correct call, it'll hit quad 9s every time on that dangerous Tiger part. 4 casts should take it down, and then Saberwolf will be moving on to the next form. There's that North Cross we did not want to see. Ellie's, don't get iced up, and she didn't.
Yeah, thankfully her levels are pretty high, so she has a much better chance than your average Worlds Collide runner, who typically, I think, when you're coming into the final battle, you want to be between, I want to say 35 at the lowest and 40-ish. You can get away with some stuff at the lower 30s, but it's much harder, especially if you start running into freeze, since if you're the lower level
the game can be won without gaining experience at all, but in a race situation, you don't want to do that. Not in a race.
No, it's
but,
a little bit too much swag it out.
Saber switching over to the Merton spell now because you can hit both parts, and just look at the damage, like 7,000 without hitting a weakness. So effectively breaking the damage cap on turn efficiency. Has a few elixirs in stock to replenish, probably more so MP than HP, at least early on here in the final battle, and that'll keep the Merton train going.
Yeah, 730 MP in the pool is quite a bit, but if she's the only one doing damage, that will get drained pretty quickly.
Yeah, and Saberwolf just tried out that shock command there for a lark, but as we alluded to, shock is great early on, but endgame it falls off a cliff. Even this level 60 Sellies couldn't break 3,000 damage with shock, so back to Merton it is. 10 hits is the attack that the physical part does when it's defeated. It's basically countered by having decent armor. Sellies is going to eat these 10 hits, but if they're all doing 100 damage to a character with over 5,000, it's fine.
Yeah, you don't really have to worry about that too much. And
Shock, obviously better against a single target, because Shock doesn't have that split damage property that Merton does. So against a single target, it can hit quite a bit harder. I still think, well, in this situation, you wouldn't go for it because you're not at full HP. But if Selly's was at full HP, that Atma weapon, I think, would be hitting over 8,000 right now at level 60.
I think with the hero ring at level 60, you're probably hitting damage cap with that Atma weapon, which would, again, be a really nice thing to have here at the end. Since the part in the back there, which you want to take out first, absorbs, I believe, every element. So can't use Merton on this one. There we go. Thank you for the HP. So you get a little fist bump from Saberwolf there.
Yeah, always nice whenever Tier 3 opens with Merton, because fire absorption is something you're probably going to want to have on. It can open with Windy Wind, though, which would take Selly's down to critical, and that's bad.
Yes, don't want to see that.
Saberwolf's going to opt to try out Meteor here, and believe it or not, yes, the weak endgame quote-unquote spell Meteor is actually stronger than Shock.
Yeah,
it's just not something you would really think about, because Meteor's base power is quite low, but it does ignore defense. So with level scaling factored in, Meteor does become a mini Ultima much later on in the game.
So Saberwolf, good heads-up play there, using Life 3 on Celeste again, who got that dispelled in the last fight. Thankfully, he dodged that whirlwind as well.
Well, it's just down to the final form of Tier 3. Now, this is where things get interesting. Quick is going to allow Saberwolf to have a double turn. So this will be it for Tier 3. But without true calmness protection, which we do not have, we did not get Fenrir. I don't see them with a vanish spell.
Nope.
Saberwolf does have Life 3 up, which will revive Selly's once, but if the boss decides to do a double calmness counterattack, we could be in trouble, and that would open an avenue for Nux to get back in this thing, who is just beginning their final battle right now. This Merton will finish off Tier 3. Saberwolf, going to be, holding... Well, we knew that at least one was coming. Is a second one coming? Oh, no!
Yo, yes!
But Selly with the clutch block. And now we're moving on to final Kefka. Look at that webcam. The man knows he dodged a bullet.
Good blocks.
Let's go.
You love hearing the little tink. 658 HP, not too big of a deal. It's going to be reduced to 1 after Kefka's first attack here, and then
it's completely inconsequential.
Oh,
yes,
Merton.
Kefka always opens with Heartless Angel, following 1, whatever you want to call it. So it's a free turn, effectively, because Kefka's opening action cannot kill your character. Whatever happens from there, that's where it might get interesting.
Mm-hmm. Good call.
Saber obviously wisely going to reapply Life 3 status. Kind of a necessary safe step here.
Yeah, at this point you don't want.
It's at least a 10-minute. It's a 10-minute time loss if you wipe to this form of Kefka. And as far as the race goes, if Nux can pull it out on the first try, that's GG. So you have to do that. And then Merton is probably the play. It may not be the best single target offense, even though it's hitting close to 8,000, which is not bad at all. But more importantly, it heals Selly's in the process.
Yeah, that's going to be really handy to keep her up there. I think with 5,000 HP and the levels that that the Celeste is carrying into this fight, I don't think there's anything that Saberwolf is going to be running into that could be a one-hit kill. It would be, 3,000 or 4,000 out of Havoc Wing.
And that's where you'd be mistaken, though. That's where you would be mistaken, though. Kefka's super attack, Goner, or Forsaken, for those of you playing with a newer translation, actually does apply split damage. So against a solo character, that move can hit upwards of 4,000 damage or more. You want that Life 3. A hyperdrive counter ignores defense. That's death if you trigger the counter. So Saber is very much in danger, but Kefka's worst attacks are still tied to counters. And as you can see, Saberwolf using the quick spell here to quickly break 2 shields. That's going to be 20,000 damage. Hopefully this is enough to kill Kefka. Otherwise, we're going to be getting into the true scary stuff. So
Yeah,
here's that Goner.
Using quick there was very smart.
This
Thankfully,
Goner will hit much harder than you've ever seen in any other Worlds Collide race because there's only one character. Over 2,000 is a lot less than I was expecting, but I guess it goes to show the quality of the equipment that they picked up. Even without Minerva, they must still have some pretty solid magic defense.
Yeah, that's sort of the saving grace of
8,000. This is GG. That's it. Kefka is defeated, and Saberwolf is going to be the winner of this race. But
GG's to Saberwolf.
Absolutely, but remember, this is not a legitimate race. Well, it's a legitimate race. But,
Whoa!
But the point is, it's more about the event and everything here. So let's not just throw our GGs and run away. No, we're not going to do that because Nux is still fighting here. Nux putting the quick strats in here on tier 2.
And
Ain't
having,
that right, Turdy?
Absolutely. And having a couple extra levels under his belt is making a couple of these things go a little bit differently. Merton hitting the damage cap on a couple of those casts early on in tier 1 was very nice. So let's see if, at the very least, Knuckly's probably going to be able to get through this final boss a little bit faster.
Oh, I love it. Knuckly's still showing 0 restraints with the shields. Breaks the ice shield on all targets. Max damage to the threatening tiger form, and then another 7,000 to the other 2. And hey, we got more elemental shields. Let's break them. Let's get max value for our dollars while there's multiple targets out there. Another 7K a piece. Oh. And hey, that Thunder Shield, are we going to break that too? Are we going to break the Thunder Shield? I want to see it. Break it.
Yep, he keeps passing it up. And it sounds like
we're using an elixir.
It sounds like we are rejoined in the room by Saberwolf here. GG, Saberwolf.
Yeah, hello everybody. I'm back.
Well, all right, Saberwolf, thank you for the amazing show that you and Nux put on here. I invite you to watch Nux's stream, and I want you to do the play-by-play as he finishes off this final boss. We're midway through Tier 2. Take it away, Saberwolf. You are the victor, and you have every right to do this.
Well, I pick apart my opponent now? Is that what I'm doing?
No. You're cheering him on, dude. Come on. This is for a good cause.
Yes,
Don't
it is.
So
it's for a great
poisonous.
cause. Yes, it is. That's a great cause. I'm glad we did the event for this. But it looks like he's down to 2. He's down to the lesser 2 of this 4. Kind of the same issue I did, but getting rid of hits before magic. Magic can count your counter with quarter and with the dispel as well, which might put you in a tough position going into the next boss point. But looks like you were going to be okay here. Let's see. There's the dispel. All right, so magic is down. Is going into the 3rd tier.
Oh, lucky.
Yeah, no quarter, so got lucky like I did. Didn't get the quarter there. Now, I know on this run, we did have offering Gigi Glove Double Atma. Didn't feel comfortable with it since you're going with a solo character. That would have been an amazing amount of damage for amazing amount of speed, but would have left you very vulnerable with not much defense and yeah, at the mercy of like my health matters to what I'm hitting. So,
do you think you would have taken that if you had found a Minerva?
I'd be more inclined to, yeah.
Okay, because that was the one item we were expecting to see throughout this run. That because you always find a Minerva and nobody can use it. Ugh. But when you do a solo Celeste run, it doesn't show up anywhere.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, you might have seen me goes like offering, but I don't want to do it because it's too dangerous to do this. I don't want to do this. But I didn't. I mean, I could do it for the streams, do it for the event. But I was like, that doesn't feel good. Whirlwind, does it hit? Nope, it does not. Yeah, unfortunately, for this fight here for Girl, Shock doesn't do much damage. Meteor did a little bit more damage, did double the damage here. So Meteor was a little bit better option. Unfortunately, does get the Doom off onto Celeste here. So hopefully Life 3 is available to Knuckly here. As another Whirlwind comes down. Oh, this is bad RNG damage here. But hopefully Life 3 is going to be available here on the reset. Didn't see them cast it when I joined. Okay, there it is.
Oh
Good.
no, Knuckly at least has that much down.
Oh no!
Whoa!
Immediate
Brutal.
punch to the face after the re-res.
Oh man, and yeah, Knuckly going ahead and taking the forfeit from the race. Perfectly fair. That was awful luck. Like that was the only thing that could have actually done that. You know, if they used Merton, it would have healed him. If they used Whirlwind, it would have done, you know, like 60 damage if it actually hit.
Yeah.
That is extraordinarily unfortunate for Knuckly Kong.
Yeah, that was horrible, horrible RNG combat decisions by the AI there. Literally anything else would have been better. Yeah, Dave Knuckly Kong is back with us. Yeah, that was horrible RNG selection by the AI doing. You got Doom re-res, and then of all the things, it just punched you. I mean, if it did like Merton, it would have healed you probably. I'm assuming because you had a fire shield, right?
Yep, and my strat there was I was going to come back quick, Life 3, and then Merton to heal myself again.
Perfect move. But yeah, immediate punch after that. That was rude.
That was very unfortunate.
Did you get tempted by offering Gijigla double Atma if you had it?
I actually sold Atma very early in the seed. I only found one. I didn't find Rags. I didn't find Illuminas. I spent probably the first 15 minutes going around to all the different shops trying to find either a Ragnarok or an Illumina.
Yeah, same. But Enhancer was the best weapon really I could really find.
Yep. I ran Enhancer, Flame Shield. I ended up using Force Shield at the end. And I think the Coronet.
I had Coronet and my body armor was Genji armor.
Yep, I was moving and doing decent. I think I last locationed the characters as much as possible.
Oh yeah. I guess I can give you guys a little bit of insight on this one. You followed basically identical pathways through this, and you were like 15 seconds away from each other for almost the entire race. Like one of you would be a little bit ahead, and then the other one would be a little bit ahead, and then like Knuckly cracked a shield on a boss that took Saberwolf 3 turns, so he then moved 10 seconds ahead. It was a bunch of stuff like that. And then Saberwolf ran into the Doomgaze spot randomly out of nowhere, and it dropped an Esper, and that was, you know, you guys maintained that like that closeness. I think Knuckly Kong did make a couple pretty aggressive moves after that to close that gap, but it was pretty amazing that essentially the whole thing almost came down to you running into those tentacles in the sky.
Yeah, so randomly when I went back to Rule the Ruin, I was on my way to do Magi Tower, since we're pretty much side by side there, and I randomly got the Search the Skies check for tentacles.
Nice.
Which gave me the Esper I needed. So what was the extra one you did then for the Esper?
Kefka at Narsh. Knuckly actually went through it, which there was a lot of experience points in there. I think Knuckly did find the experience egg in Zen before you did, but only by about like 2 or 3 checks. So the gap was huge in the beginning and allowed him to catch up with you after doing a lot more looting, but then didn't. By the end of it, he had fought a bunch more fights and had a few more levels.
Yeah, I peed Kefka Narsh, but didn't do it.
Pardon me for the interruption, gentle people.
Oh, sorry.
I would just like to quickly ask the organizer how much time we have left in our slot.
Oh yeah, true. Novo?
Yeah. Sorry. Let's see. You guys have just about 15 minutes. We're probably going to want to get out a little bit early just to make sure that Alola gets all set up. So I'd say about 10 minutes.
Okay.
So Lowell
Okay,
coming back
thank you
on.
very
Woo.
much. Sorry for that, everyone. I just didn't want you to get too carried away with discussing the fineries of the seed there. Remember that this is a marathon and for a fantastic cause. We've got money to raise and we might have to move on. So let's make sure we keep within that 10-minute time limit. Go ahead, boys.
Yeah, smart question.
So the main reason I did Kefka and Arsh is because I know it's a little bit longer than walking all the way out, but I was searching for Illuminas and Espers. So I figured there was a good chance that it would yield what I needed. And unfortunately, I was not able to find an Illumina. I took on Toilet Atma and both dragons in the tower, just hoping for an Illumina, and got nothing. A lot of shields in this seed, though. That definitely helped get through some fights.
Oh, Nux, I gotta say, I was talking about it throughout the whole race. I love just how you were just your first response to any boss you didn't like was to break a shield over its face. I love that kind of aggression.
Yeah.
Thank you for showing us that.
And like, I knew going into it, I wanted something that would absorb fire. And then when I found the flame shield early, I was like, okay, it doesn't matter what other shields I get because they're not going on.
Yeah, you had enough.
It's a great strategy, absolutely. We were talking about how fire is both the most common and best element in the game, so I completely agree with that. Since we know we have a bit of time there, Nux, one question that came up while we were yakking amongst ourselves here. You sold a ribbon for money very early on, and there were a couple of boss fights where that came back to bite you. Any regret on that decision?
Normally, yes, but I knew early in the seed that if I would have found an Illumina, I was going to need the money. And then I ended up finding another ribbon later on. So the Skull Dragon fight, I actually wiped to that. And then went back and put a ribbon on, and then remembered I had quick, so it didn't matter.
Fair enough. Another question for the both of you, which was something I thought about bringing up pre-race, but didn't want to spoil the fun. Did either of you consider using the black belt accessory if you found one?
Well,
It
given
would.
the fact that we had a Moogle Charm, what we had to have, and then finding the experience egg kind of early, not really, because I mean, I know the scaling was insane for this. I think it's like 3 times scaling on fight and 3 and 5 times scaling for the fights and all, and it's only 2 times scaling for espers and characters only. Dragons don't increase scaling, so experience egg was kind of overkill. But I still probably would have preferred a ribbon because solo character muddle self ice 3 yourself or something like that. It could really kill your run.
So
Absolutely.
But so yeah, I mean, it is an option though. It definitely is an option there. But I think when you have safer options, it's better.
Quick question. Another quick question from me. I didn't see it very often, but you both realized that you could have switched the Moogle Charm over for a different relic before a boss fight, correct?
yes.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
I know early in the seed, I was flopping Moogle Charm with Experience Egg or Earrings, whichever one I didn't have equipped. But later in the seed, I felt like it didn't really matter, so I just kept Experience Egg and Moogle Charm.
Yeah, but also like I don't think black belt would help much anyways, unless you were using the ammo weapon, because the only other weapon we really had was either Aura Lance or Enhancer for options. It wasn't like we had like a VK or something like that or an Illumina, if we did have to do a counterattack. So
Yeah,
but yeah.
the black
You
belt-
both did pass up a sniper weapon, which Celias could equip.
I know you love your snipers. I know that.
It's hard to argue with a weapon that procs throw at triple damage.
That is true.
but the proc is not guaranteed, and shock is guaranteed damage.
That's true.
On the subject of shock, how do you feel that shock held up throughout the game? We know that it's amazing early game. Did you find that it was still relevant late game with a solo character?
I mean, it can be. If the target is at the end of the game, it wasn't because Shock was doing half the damage that Meteor was to Girl and Sleep. But I've noticed that if a target is weak to a certain element, say like ice, like for Tiger for ice, that's going to do way more damage than Shock's going to do. But when you meet certain things like cranes, where Merton's not going to work because one of them absorbs fire, Shock is actually better because it actually hit both targets. So Meteor can sometimes be better to Shock, I guess, in certain situations, I guess. But
Yes,
then again,
because
Shock is just
Meteor
faster.
ignores defense, whereas Shock does not. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, Meteor and Shock kind of the same, almost.
And I know Shock came in handy against Magimaster.
Yeah,
That was absolutely the best play against Magimaster. Something you both could have done against Magimaster was use your opening turn for a Merton spell rather than a Shock,
right.
but we're splitting hairs at that point.
Yeah, definitely. And I know we're running out of time though. But I just want to wrap up and say thank you all for jumping with me and doing with me, Knuckly, Jacksonus, Turdsman, also Drink School in the background for helping set up this flag set run and the seed and all for us. Once again, when I heard about this event coming up, I had to jump in for it because, like I said back in March, if you missed the beginning of this run, I faced thinking about committing suicide back in March. And actually, before that, I was actually thinking about it towards the end of last year, actually, into 2023. And I finally just got help. I went to go see my doctors. They took me very seriously. I ended up going to see a therapist that same day, and I've been in therapy since in 3 months. And my workplace was understanding. Certain states look into your states too. They can give you family leave to help you with that. You'll still get paid depending on how your job is set up. You'll still be paid while you're gone to try to help heal. It is a mental health issue, and it can be a help, and you're not alone. So, and I'm just happy to help out with this cause for this, and I'm glad that we're getting donations in. I think you have a $1,000 goal. We're already over halfway there on the first day, so keep it coming in, everybody. It's a great cause, and I'm glad to help out and participate. And glad I'm still here with you all too. So
Absolutely.
And we're glad you're still here with us, Saber. So we're glad that you got the help you need, and we're doing this event to make sure that anyone else in that situation gets the help they need. And this doesn't just apply to those of you that live in the United States of America. Even though the charity itself may only benefit that, even if you don't live in the USA, there's always services available to help you. You can always find a local, the local addiction numbers will help you with this. And doesn't sound like they overlap, but trust me, they do. You can turn yourself into a hospital, a hospice, even a police station. Maybe I wouldn't recommend that in America per se, but the police will help you in a situation like this everywhere else in the world. Help is out there. Ideally, you find it within your own friends and family, but if for some reason you feel like you can't, you can go outside that circle and the help will be there. They will keep you alive. And I just want to say that if you think that ending your life is the only way out, you've legitimately hit rock bottom, and the only place you have to go is up. And let me tell you, up is phenomenal. Don't let go of the hope. Keep your own life alive. If not for yourself, then for your loved ones. They will miss you incredibly.
Yeah.
I'm
Suicide.
Jackimus Wedge, signing up on a more somber note than usual, but keep the hope alive. Thank you.
Suicide is a solution to a temporary problem. Saber, I'm glad that you are still here with us, and I'm glad that you agreed to compete in this event against me. And while I did not win and I did not finish the seed, it was still a lot of fun, and I'm glad it could be against you.
yeah, thank you for that. But I guess thank you guys for jumping in with me, doing this great cause. But for those of you out there, before last thing, Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide. We'll be back later on this weekend for this event. We got another run for you guys for this event. We got a twofer. So
what is it? Monday at 12:30.
yep, Monday at 12:30, I believe. It's the last. I think it's the last run of the event.
Yep, we hit the donation goal for it.
Very
Awesome.
nice.
And you know what the best news about that event is? You get to hear me for another 2 hours whenever you tune into that. Alongside my new BFF, Nehru, we are going to rock it. And I know our runners are going to rock it too. It's going to be a great time. I'd say please make sure to tune into that again on Monday. But more importantly, don't even close this Twitch window. If you're going to sleep, leave it open. Spread the word. The message is important. Get everyone to pay attention to this event and donate everything they can. It's for... I hate charity, but I love this cause. I can say at that. So just keep it going. Keep it coming. Keep the fun coming. Keep life alive. Keep the hope alive. I believe in all of you all. You're all amazing humans. Never give up.
Thank you guys so much. I think we're going to go ahead and transition over to getting Alola Girly set up for the GTA San Andreas run.
That sounds incredible. You don't want to miss that. That is the best Grand Theft Auto game of all time and played by an amazing runner at that. Keep your channel tuned here. We'll be right back that with a few minutes after our tech people get it all set up for you.
Thank you.